My name is Alice Mullen. I'm a field specialist in food and agriculture with the University of New Hampshire Cooperative Extension. Today is part 3 of a series called Food Safety, a Marketing Strategy for Farmers Markets. And today we're going to talk about personal hygiene. Many pathogens can be transferred to fresh fruit and produce by workers who either pick, package, or handle the produce. So personal hygiene is very important for the production of safe fruits and vegetables. So what I'd like you to do right now is to think about the steps that you follow for good personal hygiene. What are the things that you do personally to get ready to go to market and sell food? So let's take a look at the list. First, you should always wash your hands thoroughly and often. Hands are a primary source of contamination of produce and food, so it's really important that we do keep them clean. Then you want to make sure you shower or bathe daily and wear clean clothes or a clean apron at the market. You want to restrain your hair so you don't have any hair falling into your produce, and remove jewelry, which could also be another source of contamination. You want to keep your fingernails trimmed and cleaned. I realize that can be difficult for farmers to do, but you want to try to keep them as clean as possible. And then also, if you do have any cuts, keep them covered. If you are sick, you want to make sure you either have somebody substitute for you or that you do stay home, especially if you have symptoms of nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, because those symptoms could indicate that you have a foodborne illness and they're very easily transferred to other people. So stay home if you're sick. And then, of course, you don't want to smoke or chew gum or eat in your vendor booth. Not only is it a food safety issue, but it's also a marketing issue. It doesn't really present a very professional appearance for your farm or your market. So how do you wash your hands, since hand washing is very important in keeping food safe? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to wet your hands with warm water. Then you apply soap, and then you start to rub your hands together vigorously for 10 to 15 seconds. You want to try to clean under your nails, between your fingers, wash the backs of your hands, wash up your arms a little bit. And 10 to 15 seconds is usually about singing happy birthday once. You want to rinse thoroughly and then dry your hands with a paper towel. You want to avoid using cloth towels because they also could be another source of contamination. Then you want to use that paper towel to turn off the faucet because, of course, the faucet is dirty and you don't want to recontaminate your hands. And if you happen to be in a restroom, it's always a good idea to use that paper towel to open the restroom door. Now I'd like to demonstrate on how to wash your hands. So first thing you do is you take off any jewelry that you might be wearing, and then you're going to turn the water on so it's nice and warm, and get your hands wet. You're going to add some soap, and then you're going to start rubbing your hands together vigorously. Now remember, I said you need to do this for 10 to 15 seconds, and that's singing happy birthday. So let me start singing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alice. Happy birthday to you. Now you want to rinse your hands thoroughly, get all that soap off. And then you want to grab your paper towel, dry your hands. And then once your hands are dry, you can use that paper towel to turn off the faucet. And then, of course, you always want to make sure you dispose of that paper towel in the waste paper basket. Now, hand washing at the farmer's market can be difficult sometimes because typically there's not any source of running water. So one of the things the markets can do is they could rent a portable hand washing station like shown here in the left-hand picture. Or you could also set up your own hand washing station, which is shown on the right. And the things that consist of this hand washing station are a 5-gallon bucket of warm water. You want to have some hand soap and some paper towels. And the thing about your bucket that contains the water is you want to make sure it has a valve or spigot on it that can remain open and let the water run. You don't want to be touching that spigot on and off all the time because that can recontaminate your hands. You also need some kind of stool or table to put that bucket on so it's up off the ground. And then finally, you need a bucket to catch the wastewater because you don't want all that soapy water running all over the place and potentially contaminating some other produce. This is a picture of one that it was developed by the University of Minnesota, and they have a great video on how to build a portable hand washing station. They use a camper water jug as their container to hold the water. And if you Google, if you go to YouTube and Google how to build a portable hand washing station, you can pull up this video pretty easily. Or you can also go to the University of Minnesota's Extension website. A lot of times people will say, well, can I use hand wipes or hand sanitizers in place of hand washing? And unfortunately, they are not a substitute for hand washing. The reason for that is those types of products, first of all, do not remove the soil from your hand, and then they're also not effective at killing the bacteria that's associated with foodborne illness. So the only effective way to get your hands clean is to use the good hand washing practices. When we look at when we need to wash our hands, one of the most important times is after using the restroom or a portable toilet. Most commonly, food becomes contaminated by what's known as the fecal-oral route, and washing our hands helps to stop that and get rid of any bacteria that might be on our hands after using the restroom. Animals are also a big source of pathogens, so if you ever touch or handle an animal, you want to make sure that you always wash your hands after that. If you've touched raw eggs or raw meat or raw poultry, again, those are another source of contamination and pathogens, so wash your hands. And finally, before you prepare any food, you always want to wash your hands before doing that. Other times you need to wash your hands are when you shake someone else's hands. You don't know what their hands have been contaminated with, and that can be easily transferred to your hands. Also, after you sneeze or cough, so that's why it's really important that when you do sneeze, you sneeze into your sleeve and not into your hands. After you eat or drink, again, your hands are coming close to your face and mouth and become contaminated. After handling money, I think we all know that money is the source of germs and bacteria, so it's important to wash our hands after that. After talking on our cell phone or touching our face, our hair, scratching our arms, our skin has a lot of bacteria on it, can get on food and cause illness, so we want to make sure we wash our hands after doing that. And then finally, after smoking a cigarette, again, your hands are right there by your mouth, so that could be a source of contamination. So when you're at the market, it's really important to think about what have your hands been touching and what have they been doing. Of course, it's impossible to wash your hands all the time after everything you do, but really think carefully about those first ones that I pointed out about using the restroom, touching animals before preparing food, and then also after touching raw meats or eggs. Those are really the most critical times to wash your hands. Oftentimes people will ask me, well, why do I have to wear disposable gloves? Well, in New Hampshire, there is a rule that says that you need to minimize bare hand contact with ready-to-eat food. A ready-to-eat food is a food that's not going to be cooked again. So if you're preparing samples of your produce for people to eat at the market, that would be a ready-to-eat food. And so therefore you would have to wear gloves. When you put on gloves, the main thing you want to remember is that you wash your hands before using them. If you reach into a box to grab a glove and your hands are all dirty, that's going to contaminate the glove and defeat the purpose of wearing gloves to begin with. The other thing is if your gloves get dirty or torn, if you've been handling raw meat, or if you're going to start a new task, you want to make sure you change your gloves because, again, that could be a source of contamination that could transfer to other foods. And then finally, remember that gloves are a single-use item. You don't want to wash or reuse them. Once they get dirty, throw them away. Now, when putting on your gloves, you want to try to, first of all, grab the glove by the cuff when you take it out of the box. Try to avoid grabbing it by the fingers. And then you just slip your hand into the glove. And remember, once you have your gloves on, you don't want to be touching your face or fixing your hair with your gloves, because now I've just contaminated my gloves and defeated the purpose of minimizing that bare hand contact. When you're done using your gloves, You want to just grab it by the cuff, turn it inside out, and then drop it into the garbage. Try to avoid pulling it off by the fingers because, again, that could recontaminate your hands. And remember, whenever you change gloves and put on a new pair, you want to wash your hands again. Even though hand washing removes most of the bacteria on our hands, we still have a little bit left there. And when it's been in a glove for a while, our hands get a little sweaty and that bacteria could grow. So by washing our hands again, we help to further get rid of bacteria and reduce the risk of contamination. If you have any questions about this session or about food safety, you can contact me at alice.mullen@unh.edu. You can also go to our Extension website where you can download information and fact sheets about food safety.